I believe that no one is paid off in either direction. I think if anything, the oxygen is being like kind of breathed into like both groups just to keep it going, because like there is continual engagement. Like, you know, there's people against it, there's people for it. And like with this going on for so long, at a certain point, you just have to ask, like, who's this truly benefiting? And I think there's things on like both sides, on both groups, that are just like, it's wild statements that just have no basis in reality. And like all of a sudden, like on top of that, like you said, like this is Twitter. People are like, whatever, if they have a strong enough opinion, they might throw money behind it. But then to like be angry at someone doing something with their money, it's their money, fucking whatever. If it works out, it works out. But also, as I'm doing this, once again, folks, if you have any connections to these people, like, I don't want this to seem lopsided, like, against AMC. I know some of the people I'm speaking right now have been spoken, like, against AMC. DM those people that come in. If we're trying to be reasonable, I hope we're doing a good job of, like, not attacking people. If anything, I think Travis was attacking more. But, like, I think this is the way it should go, because I'm tired of, like, echo chambers on both sides. But whoever's next, feel free.
Good afternoon, Matt and Amy. Hi, guys. My name's Moran.
I have a bone to pick with you, sir.
Oh, sounds great. So, here's what I have. A couple of things, Matt, and only because I look at it from a content creator standpoint. I know you're an investor, and I know you've done a lot for the movement over the last 3 years. Do you feel that any of the content that you've put out over the years was skewed for the viewer themselves, or do you feel like you were able to detach yourself from it? And I only say this because you didn't go to Kansas City that first year in 221 when the rest of the guys went. And I was curious if you're willing to speak on why you didn't go and why you were separating yourself from the movement at that time.
Yeah. Okay. So first one, I didn't write this down. So if I don't answer one, just feel free to re-ask. Any piece of content I put out, I truly, like, at that moment, I believe it. In retrospect, am I happy with all the content I put out? No, not at all. I would definitely change, like, a lot. I would change a lot of my trades. If I could go back in time, I would have sold everything at 72, said, fuck you people, I'm buying puts, let's see if I'm right. There's many things I would change. But at the moment I was doing it, I felt good about it. I felt it was accurate. And I'm not here saying that I did not myself have blinders on. That was your first question.
Yeah.
The second question was about Kansas. I forget when that exactly happened. I don't want to say who in the group, but if you look at that picture, I think that's not necessarily the crew I want to hang out with. I don't want to pick on individual people, because I think certain people in that group I would love to hang out with. But as a whole, I thought it was a weird group. And also, this is like odd and personal, at that point I was dedicating so much time to AMC. There was a trip planned with like my now fiance. If I backed out of that, I don't think I would be alive right now.
That's
so
fair.
Like, I kind of like had to go to that.
That's fair. So the other parts of this are going to be two separate questions, okay? One is a definite answer. The other one I'd like to elaborate on. But the one part that I had is, you know, I saw that everyone started deleting videos, and I know that we can all keep track of that and things like that, where people try to hide what they delete. Is there a reason why certain AMC individuals started deleting videos, like in October, September timeframe of 2021, and yourself included? Was there something behind that? Because I've been trying to pay attention to this, to that point. And, you know, I look at it from the private equity standpoint. I do not look at it from the ticker standpoint. I know everyone's been in here trying to talk about how much percentage is being pushed down or who's paid off and who's not. It has nothing to do with that for me. It's private equity has driven certain investments in front of people. And I wonder if you feel like it's been manipulated, the actual play, not just AMC, but multiple. Because, you know, we have the ability, and I don't want to just say we, as in to include myself with you, but anyone has the ability to start pushing out a ticker out of nowhere, right? And I'm trying to find out what would be the reason why you would pick one when we know private equity is the one pushing behind it. Or maybe that's just hearsay. But how do you feel about any of that?
Okay, I might need you to repart the second one. So what was now even the first one?
Deleting the views? Deleting the videos and the views.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so on that one, I don't know for other people, but one thing I noticed on Social Blade for me individually is if you go move, on YouTube, the algorithm is not good at knowing if you should promote a stream or not. So for example, on my channel, on the MacBook channel, I have evergreen content where I might explain something like option Greeks, and then I also have streams. And in the world of finance, no one's going to rewatch a stream because the market's on to new things. It's not like a gaming stream where it's still applicable. So in my way, the way I looked at the algorithm was like, okay, I want certain videos to still get promoted in the future, and then other streams not to. So what I did was I just moved it all to a playlist, and on that playlist, like it takes those views away because those ones are not being promoted. Now, with that being said, that was my personal opinion, and it had to do with like, it's no surprise that on YouTube I'm down like 40,000 subscribers from my peak, and I just figured, okay, like the AMC movement, like there's less people interested in it, and I was like, well, I want my new content to get promoted. And whenever I had a quote unquote good video that popped up, right away, like I could see it in like my other accounts that it was re-promoting old AMC streams, my 8-hour streams, who no one's going to watch. Right. So I thought the best way to fight the algorithm was to just put it all in its own playlist, and that's what's on my channel. I can only speak for me.
No, that's a fair answer.
The community who did that, and then there's other people who did legitimately delete their videos.
Right. No, that's a fair answer. Like, you gave me that around. I get that. Now that, because I think about it from that standpoint. But the other part of this is influenced by private equity. How you have a platform. You have the biggest platform out of anyone here, aside from when Tara Bull just stepped in her inflated platform. But how big of an issue do you think private equity is on, the public, as in retail investors? And have you even done the homework on it to see how it's influenced, like our decisions as far as what actually plays out?
So you're saying it in a broad sense. If I am not like answering it, obviously feel free to re-ask. The only time I've really looked into private equity is specifically when I try to figure out how maybe the vote got distorted, as in the yes vote within Terra. So that was my first like real look into it, like, okay, like what's going on with private equity, this, that, the other thing. I'm by no means a private equity expert, and I definitely didn't know like any shit beyond the word itself, like coming into like even the AMC movement in a general sense. Mm-hmm. So in terms of influence, like, do you mean like them getting people to say positive or negative things? Is that like what you're asking? Or
I'm thinking more like
when
this,
you're saying influence.
Well, I'm thinking more like this. If you were going to make a video about a ticker, right? Before you ever talk about the ticker, do you actually look at the board of directors, and does that influence your investment thesis? I know you're a day trader. I get that part. But like the last guy who was just up here saying, no one's committed to a stock, no one loves a stock. I'm like, I've held a stock for 10 years now because I love the company and I hold it forever because it's that great. I know that you've talked about that way. I remember your stance on Coinbase when it first IPO'd, and I was like, oh my God, here we're like 4 months later, we're down all the way down to under 100. And it was like, this business model works. Crypto works. I know you're a big believer in crypto, and you're in Bitcoin, ETH, and the rest of it. But like, those are things that you can hold forever. I'm saying to myself, if there's a security I'm going to hold forever, I'm going to do the due diligence as in to see how much private equity has an influence on it. That's why AMC never worked for me. That's why AMC's never worked for me at day one. So even when you were announcing it and pushing it, I was right behind you saying this is a terrible investment because Adam Aaron is Apollo. Adam Aaron's influence, Sean Goodman is private equity.
I think I better understand what you're saying. So in my investments, I never look at the private equity. If I'm doing, like in my long-term account personally, I look at the field it's in, and then I try to pick the best company within that field. So, for example, I am a big fan of semiconductors, so I like NVIDIA. With that being said, would I invest right now? No, I think it's pretty inflated. But I still, like, if I had to, I would still feel pretty confident for holding that for 2 to 3 decades. And I'm saying that I know a little bit about the CEO. I'm not the biggest fan that he's actually been selling recently, but I don't know any of the private equity investors. I've never looked that up on a list, and maybe I should. Maybe that would improve my investing thing. But also, when a high percentage of my trades are short term, I don't see the influence of private equity in such a short term. And maybe it is. I'm not saying that the way I'm doing it is the correct way. I'm just saying I don't look at private equity, especially like when most, like, not only is mine short term, but if you look at like 95% of my trades, it's going to be the S&P 500. Right. Like, I just like trading the overall market. So the answer is no. So in terms of my investments, but also I'm on board with you with that. I think I'm on CNBC quoted saying, I think AMC is an active trade. Melissa Lee asked me that. I said, it's an active trade. I never, ever tried to pitch that as an investment. And I said this a couple hours ago before you came on. Right now, I don't think AMC is a top 100, 250, or even 500 investment opportunity in the current market landscape. That could change in a month. I don't know. But right now, if I'm doing classic, what's your debt burden? What's your interest payment? What is like your PE ratio? What's the direction of your sector? I don't think AMC cracks it for me as an investment, but obviously investing and trading are two completely different things.
Yeah, no.
I appreciate my point, Rich.
Yeah, I got you.
Stream, you were saying, you're like, I think you said something about AMC, and if somebody told you that I was long or something like that, and you said that I was stupid, but let me just clarify.
Sure.
I'm not long AMC for an investment. I'm long AMC for the inevitable pump that comes when he tells everybody how much money they raised from the 40 million shares they just sold into the market. So, like, this is... You know,
so even with that initial pump, like
72 hours max.
Right. No, I hear you guys out on that. But like if you play out private equity, right? Like we know when individuals are hired, like this is why I pay attention to it. And this is how you can play if you were going to get into the stock, right? Like Bed Bath & Beyond. We played that out for 6 months. We knew exactly how it was going to happen because of the private equity hires. Like that literally told you the story. Right now, I have the story for AMC. No matter how much they raise, that market cap is not going to be above their goodwill. That's going to offset on the balance sheet annually. They're going to lose $1 billion, flat out. There's no way around it.
Right. But like I think that's what Matt and I are saying. But what I'm saying, like this isn't. I don't care. Like sometimes I create companies and I don't even know what they do. I don't care what they do. And like this is for me with AMC. And to address what you said yesterday on your stream, like. This is an investment for me. I'm trading this because I've been watching it for 3 years and I know exactly what's going to happen when he inevitably releases that 8K.
Yeah, no, I know who you guys are. I know that you guys trade, and I get that you guys are in it for that. I'm more on the other side of it because I want to educate, or I want to show people exactly how to play this out, like build wealth type style. Like if you find stuff you want to buy and then you want to avoid it, and everyone's telling you, pushing you one direction, you know how many people watch Matt and watch Trey and say, you know what, this is an investment for a lifetime. This is going to go to 500,000. They're willing to hold. And I know that Matt never said it's going to 500K, and I can say that for a fact because Matt, I've seen every single one of your shows. Not that I'm your biggest fan. It's that I might even be the guy, the biggest critic. But at the same time, I know you never said that. But I don't think anyone ever said it's not going to go to 500,000. That's like the things that I play with, where I'm like, no one ever is out here speaking against it. They just speak with it. And to go against the grain. Well, I know you're different, Amy, but you don't. Your platform's not Matt's platform, right? You're not in it for any. I don't see you doing the Terra Bull style. You're actually out here educating.
Yeah, I get it.
That's what I'm saying. So. Yeah, it'll cost Matt. It'll cost Matt so many views. Yeah, it'll cost him so many views and everything.
He asked you about the videos, right? That you made the 8-hour streams and stuff like that. Like,
sure.
And the things that you said, like how much of that was based on just your lack of knowledge in the market versus what you know now?
Yeah, well, that's everybody, right?
Just I wish I had. Okay, so the particular title of this stream is Massive Gains. And it was streamed 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And this is the first Reddit hate I ever got. And the guy loves quoting it. It's all over Reddit. The guy's name is Dilbert Looking Guy. And you can see how many times this guy wants to show everyone that I am not an AMC ape. And he always quotes it. So when you were saying about the levels, here's my quote, because this dude fucking hates me. It's on Reddit. Once again, His name is Dilbert Looking Guy. Look it up. For price levels, I just don't know. This is obviously someone asking me how high AMC can go. For price levels, I just don't know. Anyone throwing out an absurd price level like 100,000, we are at a new high. Anything above this is legitimately guesswork. Looks like there's too many unknown variables. I don't care what you're reading, Reddit, Twitter, you're hearing it on YouTube, no matter what, 500K, 100K, 10K, 5K, 1K, all that is literally just guesswork. It's what people with no thesis just putting it out there. I've seen some of it, and it's just like whatever people throwing it up with math that they don't quite understand, and it keeps going, and the whole thing is me saying that the price level of 100,000 puts AMC at more value than the entire stock market, and it ends with, do you think that's reasonable? Like, it's up there, look it up, and this was like before AMC even had the big run. I always thought that was crazy. What's funny about it is the first time I gave a price level, I was living in Philly, so that must have been 20, I guess maybe mid 2021. AMC was at 20. I saw the short interest has doubled, so I offhandedly say, well, hang on, if the short interest double, I guess the price could double. And I said, yeah, the floor is at like 40. And that was like a big controversy I was in. And obviously it ran past 40, but people were so mad. They're like, what do you mean? Obviously the floor is higher.
Yeah,
and
your price ain't green. I got it.
Yeah, like I was just like, oh, okay. Like I didn't realize that they would be so mad I said that was the floor. And then from there I'm like, well, I'm never throwing a number. But right away there was that game of someone said a K, like 1,000 target, and then every YouTuber and Redditor and Twitter had to come up with the thesis of why they thought it was higher. And you're never going to find evidence of me saying that. In fact, I pointed out, like, no fucking way is a movie theater worth a chain. And like even right now on this call, that who's this fucking douchebag, this Chris guy, Soja, I don't know who he is.
He's an idiot.
The guy who said that AMC could go to infinity.
Yeah, he said it's the best investment of the 21st century.